Thank you for joining this episode of the Spartan Nurse Podcast. Today we interview two of our very own MSU College of Nursing students. You may know them from our social media takeovers, Allí Walsh and Caleb Fraser. Let us welcome Allí.
So Allí, I know you pretty well from these takeovers, but can you give our audience a little bit more background about who you are?
Yeah, so my name's Allí. I am a first-year PhD student at Michigan State's College of Nursing. However, I was just recently a Bachelor of Science in Nursing student. I graduated last spring and started back here in the fall. Also here at MSU, I work as a research assistant, where I get practice with a lot of the professors and learning a little bit more about research techniques. And then outside of MSU, I work as a nurse on an inpatient child and psychiatric floor while I do school as well. So that's a little bit about me. My research topic focuses on early adolescent mental health and social media use.
Awesome. What inspired you to pursue a career in nursing? What was your passion and what led you to nursing, and specifically as a Spartan nurse?
Well, what led me to nursing was actually one of the quizzes that we took in high school about like what career best suits you. And it told me nursing, and I didn't really think that much of it until later on that year when I wanted to do some volunteering in my community, and I thought the hospital was a great place to start. So I volunteered as a front desk member at our local ER, and that is where I first really got exposed to the healthcare field. I don't come from a family of healthcare workers. And that was a really great experience for me, just interacting with patients and definitely interacting with the nurses there. And so that's when I decided to pursue nursing. And I decided to come to Michigan State because I came for a tour and I just really liked the sense of community even from the start. Before I was actually enrolled here, everyone was so welcoming, and I toured the College of Nursing and spoke to some current students, and they just gave me the sense that they're all in this together, which is kind of cheesy, but I knew even from the start that's what you need to get through nursing school, and that's certainly what helped me get to where I am today.
After you graduated with your BSN, what made you want to go back to the PhD program right away?
So I spent my last year and a half of undergrad working as a research assistant for one of the faculty here, and she really kind of played a role as my mentor in that sense of introducing me to how research really works and what you can do with it. And she kind of guided me with my own interests in psychiatric and mental health nursing and kind of showed me the possibilities of what could be done. And that really hit home for me because I love working one-on-one with my patients at the hospital, but I also have this sense that I want to have a very broad impact on the mental health field and to help so many more adolescents that I could ever reach one-on-one. So that is what pushed me to the PhD program in research.
That's awesome. Definitely an opportunity for a much broader impact. That's great. That's awesome.
So Allí, you've kind of alluded to your Spartan experience here at MSU. Can you talk to us a little bit more about it, specifically the College of Nursing?
So I think it all kind of started my freshman year. I was part of the Nurse Scholars program, so right out the gate I think there were 15 of us in this class, so it was a really small setting where we got to know each other and got to make really lasting bonds. I'm still friends with a lot of the people that I met in that class, even though we've all kind of scattered from MSU. So I think that's really what defined my experience here at MSU, is having strong friendships with people that have different experiences than I do from their past, but also are sharing the current experience of being a nursing student. It's always helpful to have kind of that shoulder to lean on and someone to give, advice from another perspective.
So are there any, we talked a little bit about your passion for, wanting to go back for your PhD and with mental health. Are there any specific healthcare issues or challenges that you're passionate about specifically?
Yeah, so there are a couple. I remember not too long ago in one of our health promotion classes in undergrad, we had the opportunity to go to the Capitol building in Lansing and do some advocating for issues that were close to us. And my group and we decided to talk to our representatives about nurse staffing ratios, and that is something that I think is super important in every area of nursing, which is kind of hard to find because every niche area has their own issues, but I think we're all very much impacted by that. And the biggest reason that I think that is a major healthcare issue that needs attention is because of the patient safety is ultimately the outcome that's most important, regardless of what unit they're on. Also, obviously, I'm a big advocate for mental health. Although, mental health care and resources have come a long way, they're still really not up to speed with, other areas of nursing. So that is part of what I want to contribute with my research and, my work as a nurse on the floor is advocating for those who, are sometimes in a spot where they can't advocate for themselves, especially children with mental health issues.
So, Allí, I have one of the hardest questions for you. I hope you're ready. Can you talk about your social media takeover and your experience with it?
Yes, I can. I remember the next day after I did that takeover, I told all my friends, maybe I'll become a social media influencer, but probably shouldn't because of my research topic. But it was a really great experience. I really like kind of getting the word out about research because not a lot of nursing students know kind of what it can bring. So I always take any chance to kind of give my little spiel about what research can do for you and most importantly, what it can do for the world of nursing. I thought it was really a good day to bring people around. I had a lot of fun stuff to do and it kind of framed my day, which was a day of finals in nursing school. It kind of framed it in, a fun and positive and uplifting light when usually they can be quite stressful. So that was my experience.
And it's kind of interesting that we're talking about social media and that plays into your research.
Yeah, it really can be used to promote a sense of community and to connect people that otherwise, never would have known each other. I know I relied a lot on looking at the MSU College of Nursing Instagram when I was coming in as a new student just to kind of see what was going on. But yeah, I think like most areas of life, there are benefits and there are drawbacks.
I think it's so important to look at the intent and the impact of it. I always say that whenever I'm talking about social media to anybody, that we can have the best intentions on social media, but the impact is what matters.
Yeah, definitely. I think that is that specific topic is really interesting to me. Last semester was my first semester in the PhD program, and I was really trying to get into the nitty-gritty about what I wanted to do. And as you all probably know, cyberbullying is a major issue for middle schoolers on social media. So I had to decide kind of what way to go, and I decided to go a different route, which was to focus on body image, mostly because of what you just said. It's an issue that can arise not from ill intent. So it, can kind of be one of those scenarios where you see someone who is posting online in the newest clothes and the trendiest shoes and, a really nice bag or something. And it's like, they may not be trying to do you any harm, but it's really on the receiver, how that can be misconstrued. And I think especially for the middle school age population and trying to fit in, my goal is really to intervene to kind of keep them away from having those poor mental health outcomes when really it's not the intent.
So during the social media takeover, you provided a glimpse into your daily life. Can you expand and share more about a typical day as a student nurse?
Yeah, so at this point in time, it is very flexible is the best word to describe it. No 2 days are alike. I have 1.5 days, I'll say, of set classes. And then all the other days during the week, I'm balancing between working shifts at the hospital and working on my research assistant position, which I'm really thankful is quite a flexible position. I can do a lot of it from home or remotely, or I'll come to the college and work on some of it, and I'm able to pop into the office of all the professors just to see what's going on. So yeah, I think the best way to describe it is just ever changing, and that's something that I like about it. And I think that's something that a lot of people are drawn to nursing because you never know what's going to happen. So I was really pleased to find out that even in the academic side and research side, that still holds true.
We've talked a lot about the day in the life, but what are some challenges and rewards that you've kind of faced during your education?
I guess my biggest challenge in undergrad, I'll start, was balancing between class portions and clinical. It was my first experience of being in a hospital and having, a significant responsibility versus, my volunteer position where it was more of a social interaction. I thought that was quite challenging at first. However, as I said, I really adjusted to it well after a long day of clinical, and I would meet up with my friends and, have dinner and kind of break everything down, process everything, give each other tips and tricks. I know I am not shy from, talking about maybe embarrassing experiences I've had in clinical and even as a full practicing nurse now. And I don't think there's any shame in that. And I think that can only help you grow. And if you're willing to share it, help other people grow and avoid your mistakes. And then now, in the PhD program, I would say my biggest challenge was shifting my thinking to be a bit more abstract. So in nursing school, I really learned how to assess the situation and, take it one step at a time to get to the desired outcome for the patient and for their family as well, to improve their health. And now in the PhD program, it's the same steps, but it's a bit more challenging to the way I think, and I really enjoy that. I could feel like my brain rewiring itself to kind of think outside of the box and, hopefully one day be in the position to generate those ideas and recommendations that I can use in the hospital setting.
It's great. And I like just going back to the undergraduate thing when you talked about the peer-to-peer support. I think that's so huge because as nurses, we need that peer-to-peer support too. Being able to debrief and talk about the day and to be there to support one another. Nursing's a stressful profession, and, being a nursing student is stressful. And, to have that peer-to-peer to support somebody that you can talk to, I think is really great. What advice do you have for individuals considering a career in nursing?
My biggest piece of advice would be to see the challenges you face as an opportunity to improve yourself and your practice instead of a roadblock that you should turn around from. I know that was hard for me to adjust to at first because, transitioning from high school to college is so different. And if you, keep getting knocked down, you get, a little bit afraid of getting back up. But in nursing, it's a field where you can't be so stuck in your own way of thinking, and everything is always changing, and you're always finding out new things from research or from other nurses about how you can do things better, and even finding things out from the patient and their family. It's really about them and the care that they're receiving. So it's a really individualized approach, and I think that if you take constructive criticism as a way to improve your work as a nurse, and me as well for my work as a researcher, I've found that reframing that to be an opportunity versus an obstacle has been really helpful.
So now we have Caleb Fraser joining us, a BSN student who was also involved and took over our social media because he was a homecoming representative.
Caleb, can you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and your background in nursing?
Yeah, of course. So like they said, my name is Caleb Fraser. I'm in the traditional Bachelor's of Science of Nursing program here at MSU, senior in it, of course. And at MSU, I feel like I'm pretty involved in some extracurriculars. So I'm the music director for my acapella group. I was a squad leader in the marching band, obviously why I'm wearing the jacket. I also volunteer at Ellie's Place, which stands for Experiencing Loss Effectively. So I do group facilitator work with grieving children, which I really love. And then on top of that, I'm a supervisor at Starbucks right off of campus, and I have been for a while now. And I don't know, I just like to have fun at MSU. I'm on an IM volleyball team, which is always just a great way to get exercise in and hang out with friends. With nursing, my history of nursing pretty much stems my sophomore year or late freshman year once I applied for the program. Before that, I wasn't really too keen on what nursing really meant to me. And so it was really great to have such a great introduction, not only into nursing, but into the program here at MSU.
You know, Caleb, you've talked a lot about what you're balancing right now, but what keeps you motivated?
I feel like definitely like just the end goals. Looking at, I like to have, I have a 5-year plan that I have right now. So always having that like to kind of feed into my type A personality. But I also just really like to work towards myself. I always like to continue to better myself. I feel like my biggest fear in life is complacency. So anything I can do, whether that's, you know, working harder on my homework in clinical or even just, you know, hanging out with friends, making sure that I have a good social life too, is really what keeps me going.
Or representing the school in front of a football game.
You could say that too, yeah.
That's pretty cool. How has your experience been at the Michigan State University College of Nursing so far? And maybe can you share some memorable highlights or moments from your time as a Spartan nursing student?
Yeah. So I think the College of Nursing here, I feel like a great way to describe my experience would be challenging, but in the best way possible. Coming from high school, I was valedictorian, and I came from a very small town, and so I love that I was supported and I was able to do so many things. And so when I came out to MSU and I wasn't top of my class, and you know, even though that I was putting in a lot of work still, it was a very quick learning experience to understand that even though that I am doing a lot, I'm surrounded by great people. And so I think the fact that I'm challenged every day is why I love the program so much, because at the end of the day, I feel like I wouldn't learn if I felt too comfortable in the program. I know that every day there's something that I could do wrong or something that I could learn from, and I really love that I have that experience here. I guess some highlights of being in the nursing program, your first clinical group, you just never forget. And mine, we still are all friends and everything. A couple weeks ago, a couple of them had called me and they're like, "Hey, Caleb, we made you some cookies. Like, can we drop them off?" I was like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, I'm like, that's so nice of you. Like, you guys didn't have to think about me like that." And then I opened my door and they silly stringed me. So, you know, and that's the bond that you have with your first clinical group. And even beyond that, the ones that I've had throughout the years, you know, the ones that you get up at 4 a.m. and drive a couple hours to your sites, you know, that there's conversations and bonding that you just can't have anywhere else.
So Caleb, what do you want to do? What's your area of interest?
So I really love that nursing is so broad and diverse and that you can do pretty much anything with it. Right now, I'm very drawn to ICU, and I love the fact that you can do a lot of critical thinking, and it seems like a huge task to me, and like that's just like a huge goal to have. And so it's obtainable, I know it. And so I've been pushing myself to do that. I just like how much there is to do.
Can you share your experience with the social media takeover for the College of Nursing?
It was a lot of fun, I'm not going to lie. It was really cool to just kind of take people through my day. And I had like different prompts where people could ask me questions, different like interactive stuff. And I guess it opened my eyes too of where I was a couple years ago when I was this freshman at MSU that had no idea what I was doing, and I just needed somebody to tell me what to do. And it was really insightful to see people that were like, "Oh my gosh, how do I get into the program?" Like having all these different questions. And it was really cool that I was able to connect with some of them. And I even have friends that I made because I took over the Instagram.
So can you tell us about some of the challenges that you've maybe faced in your nursing education, how you've overcome them? And then maybe what kind of support have you received? And then on the flip side, maybe rewarding aspects of your journey as a nursing student.
So I think like such a challenging part of nursing is breaking out of that role of just being a student nurse. Because at the end of the day, if you just want to do nursing school, your time is full. Like that is more than enough things to do to fill your time. But for me, I know I didn't just want to, like, I do love nursing school, but I know that I love other things too. And I refused to let it be that I had to give up all these things that I loved doing in high school as soon as I got to college. So at first it was difficult for me to try and find that balance of, you know, sleeping, first of all.
Right?
Yeah.
I was like, when do you sleep? Yeah.
Never. But trying to find the balance of sleeping with the social life and like pulling out Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you know what I mean? Trying to get everything that I want out of my education, but also having the fact that I'm a nursing student at the core. So I think that was very challenging at first. And there were always those days where it's like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. This is so stressful. Like I think I'm going to quit this so that next semester my load is easier. And then there's days where it's like, okay, I know why I'm doing all of this, and you get to see the payoff of it. So talking about the rewards specifically, I feel like I've been able to see a lot of them recently, getting a lot closer to graduation. I think specifically with my cohort, it is just really special. Like I always talk to my friends that aren't nursing majors about like, oh no, there's like 80 of us that came in my sophomore year, and they're the same people that I've had every single class. Like every time that we have a lecture, we sit and bot in that little room for, 7-8 hours, right. And we trauma bond together a little bit.
Right.
But I think it's really special to see where we all started, where we were terrified of washing our hands and getting checked off on that, to now we're starting to be confident in doing our own preceptor roles or working with our preceptor and having these different tasks and being more independent. And it's really been rewarding not only to see myself gain more confidence, but to also see the people that, like I grew up in nursing with, if that makes sense.
And that's really great to have that support network.
Yeah.
And even out there when you're a nurse, when you're out on the unit, that unit and those nurses on the unit and the staff on the unit and the techs and the physicians and the providers, it becomes like a family unit, and it really, you rely on each other for a lot of different things. And especially like when times get tough, like you were saying, when it's like those moments where it's like, I don't know if I can keep doing this. You need those people that you can call for that. No, you can do this. You got this. I remember when I was in the CNS program, I had one of those moments. I was working full time. I was in the CNS program. I was doing clinicals, and I actually called my mentor and I said, I need to quit. I think I need to be done. And she was like, no, you got this. You can do this. Let's put this in perspective. And I just needed that to just, sometimes you have those moments and you just kind of need that voice of reason, and you kind of need that support network to lean on. So I'm glad that you talked about the support, because I think that's huge.
I definitely do not think I could have made it through nursing school without my peers.
So Caleb, you kind of talked a little bit about this during your takeover, but what's your advice for aspiring nurses?
Definitely focusing on your why. I think that if you have the compassion, if you have the empathy, if you really know why you want to be a nurse, the rest will follow. You can teach somebody pharmacology, even though that sometimes it takes a couple times, but you can't really teach people empathy the same way. So at least in the experience that I've had with my peers and just going through the program, I think just having a good why, and if you know why you're doing it and why you want to make a difference and why nursing specifically, I think that that's the best thing to have in your back pocket.
So you talked about your future role as an ICU nurse. What would you say is some advice as far as pursuing a job while you're in the program, and what was the process like in doing that?
I think my situation is a little bit unique being an out-of-state student, and I knew that I wanted to go back home and be around family and everything. So I was a little bit eager when it came to getting jobs. So this last November, I think it was, I started sending out emails. And there's a Trauma One hospital. I live in Wyoming and Montana. It's kind of complicated. Harley knows this. But there's a level 1 trauma hospital in Montana, and it's the only one, I think, for like 600 or 700 miles. So growing up, my brother had type 1 diabetes. And so anytime that he'd go into DKA, or like anytime like my aunt had an issue with her kidneys one time, every time people always get sent up to Billings. So it was like, that's the hospital that I grew up going to. So I reached out to them, and I found out that they had a nurse residency program, and that was something that was really big for me, because I don't want to just kind of get thrown to the wolves, and I really want the opportunity to kind of go directly in whatever specialty I want to do. So I reached out to, I can't remember specifically what his job title was, but he was like the program coordinator. Like he kind of just did outreach for it. And he was amazing. We had a 3-hour long phone call where he talked to me about benefits, being there, pretty much every single question I could have, which I have a lot. He answered them all. So I was lucky enough, I got to go home for Christmas break, and I got to tour the units, and I got to meet the managers, which I think was probably the best thing I did. Because once it came around February, I did interviews for the ICU, emergency department, and pediatrics. And even though that it was on a Zoom call, I already knew all of them, and it wasn't a very formal. I was scared to be there. It was like, oh, hey, Brad, how are you doing? Like, it's good to see you again. And I'm very thankful that I did that. And not only that, but they look at my resume and they see Big Ten University nursing student, and they're like, oh, we're good. So I'm thankful I was offered all 3 positions that I applied for, and I ended up taking the ICU nurse. So I think I'll start probably July or August, depending on once I take my NCLEX. So I think I think I was a little bit too ambitious in a way of kind of getting ahead of the curve. But on the bright side, I'm kind of relaxing a little bit my last couple of months of nursing school, realizing like, you know what, I have a job secured. So I think it's going to be all right. There's a light at the end of the tunnel.
And you talked about asking questions of the organization. I think that's so important when you're interviewing because, people ask you questions. It's good to also interview the organization because, you want to make sure it's the right fit. So that's great that you said you had a lot of questions. A lot of questions are good.
Especially, like, I'm very thankful being in nursing because getting a job for nursing is a lot easier than getting a job for business. And so at the end of the day, knowing that, yes, I really do want to try and go after and get a job, but having the confidence to know with the degree that I have from here, I want to interview them too to make sure that I'm on a unit that, has the same amount of support and collaboration that I have now in the program, because I don't want to leave a program that's always supported me to just kind of go off the deep end. And I really do think that I found a place that will support me as much as I am here.
That's really great. That's awesome.
Well, Caleb, thank you for joining us here today.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate you guys having me on here.
Who will? Spartan nurses will.